Welcome to the Rewards Master. Today, I'm going to address a question that I get a lot, which is why don't you seem to ever talk about or have any cashback credit cards? So we're going to dive into that. If you would, please hit the like and subscribe button, and let's examine it together. I talk a lot about a lot of different kinds of credit cards on this channel. I talk about, of course, transferable cards, things like Chase and American Express, Citi, talk a lot about Citi. I talk about Capital One, even Wells Fargo, and a lot about the Bill card. And I talk a lot about airline cards, especially American Airlines cards. Sometimes I'm a little negative on things like United cards, and I talk about the Delta Reserve. I talk about hotel cards like the Hilton Aspire and some other great hotel cards. I really like the Hyatt card, but I don't really ever talk about cashback cards. Things like Bank of America cards or U.S. Bank cards or some of the, credit union cards that can be fantastic earners when it comes to a cashback setup. And so I get asked all the time, why don't you have seem to have any cashback cards? And really, I don't, unless you count things like the Chase Freedom cards or some of the Citi Custom Cash that can be cashed out for 1 cent per point. I don't really have any cashback cards, with the exception of the Chase Amazon Prime card. I do have that. It's 5% cash back on Amazon purchases, and we use that all the time. So why is that? Well, I'm a maximizer, and I think that people who watch this channel regularly know that, and that may be part of the reason that they watch my content, because I'm a maximizer and I speak to maximizers. Oftentimes, what I'm talking about is people with high spend, and that means that you're actually using the multipliers on the card. So, yes, we care about things like sign up bonuses, but we also care about what we're actually getting back. The other thing is that I often will just pay for my travel in cash. In other words, I'm not a person who's looking to use the credit card hobby to fund every single aspect of my travel. And so when we go on vacation, I pay for our food with money. I pay for oftentimes hotels with money, and I pay for flights. If they're not a good value, and I am shifting that up a little bit, but generally, if it's not a good value, if I'm getting less than 2 or 3 cents per point, which is a pretty high bar, then I'm just paying cash for it. So I'm looking to maximize value. In other words, I'm not looking to save another $50 on something or $100 on something. I'm looking to take something that I was willing to pay $1,000 for and get something that's a value of, say, $10,000 for that same thing. So with all of those things in consideration, really the reason I don't have a lot of cashback cards is because, frankly, the returns don't fit my goals. So I hear people all the time say, well, you could take the cash back and you could buy points. Yep. And if you do that, sometimes you can get outsized value if the points are very, very valuable. Like, for instance, I've thought about buying some points with American Airlines. I've thought about buying some points with Alaska. I don't buy points like with Hilton or with other hotel programs because they just don't excite me. I mean, a return anything less than 2% or 2 cents per dollar is never going to excite me. That's just not what I suppose it's because I really like to get great value also. It doesn't make it wrong if somebody's doing it in a different way. I mean, we all have different goals. We all have different objectives in this. So someone who's just trying to get everything for free, man, cashback cards can work for that fantastically, because the money you get cash back can pay for things like food and pay for things like tolls and trolleys, and I mean all the different trains and things that you do when you're traveling, if your objective isn't to have to pay anything out of pocket. That is not my objective. It doesn't bother me to burn through a few $1,000s on a trip. I mean, we were going to do that anyway. If I'm getting to fly over in business and first class in a way that is just beyond the luxury level I'd be able to normally afford. So that is what my objective is. And because of that, cashback just doesn't seem to give me the same return. There's also the factor that all of us have limited funds. And, even though I'm probably a higher spender than some people, I do have just a finite amount of resources. And so, how am I going to use those resources? Well, for me, to spend on my city cards and to get 5 points per dollar that I'm going to parlay into 5 American Airlines miles through City Points, and those to me are worth 6 cents a piece, then I just don't think I can find a cashback card that would deserve the spend over what I'm getting in that circumstance. And then, when you think about the fact that we only have so much money, all of us, to spend, if I'm distributing across my cards, I can't find very many categories where a cashback card is going to do better for me, since I'm going to have to take that money from the cashback and buy the points, usually at well more than 1 cent per point. Then that's depleting my returns at the end of the day if I could have gotten more points through using a different card that's a points card. So since I don't really have any categories that the cashback would pay me more, now I suppose if I wanted to get the Robinhood Gold card, then I could get 3 cents% back on everything. And maybe the argument could be made there. But here's the deal. Getting 2 city points back on everything with, say, a double cash, to me is more valuable because I value American miles at over 6 cents a piece. So where is a cashback card ever going to be as lucrative for me as one of my points cards? So that's kind of where it breaks down. And of course, when I'm working on a sign-up bonus, there is no way that I'm going to shift spend to something that's giving me even 2 or 3% back when I'm getting a gigantic sign-up bonus of 80 to, say, 150 or 200,000 points if they're American Express cards, because your return on every dollar that you spend on that is just exponential and higher than you can get with anything else. So that's kind of my reasoning. And I guess at the end of the day, even if it were to math out, I think the points are fun. I just think they're fun. I mean, we're in this hobby because it's a hobby, because we love it, because we like this. And I think that if it's not fun for you, I mean, to me, to get a little bit of cash back, that's fun. But it's like, when you're talking, say, $20 in cash back versus, say, 2,000 or 3,000 points. Well, I know the math is similar, but I don't know. There's something fun about the thousands and thousands of points. And it's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun, especially if you can get great value from it. So I know I've been rambling a little bit with this, but those are kind of my reasons as to why I choose points currencies and don't really have any cashback. I think cashback works for some people. It all depends on your goals. It depends on your travel style. It depends on your spending. And it depends on what you can afford and how you can kind of spread your spending around through different things. So some people are like me, and it's all transferable or points with airlines. I don't really do hotel points much anymore. Some people, man, they focus solely on hotel points because that's kind of where their travel takes them. Maybe they don't fly, they do road trips, or they just love the really upgraded hotel stays. That's fine. Some people focus on cash back because they don't really travel and they just want to be able to get some return on all that spending. That's fantastic for them. And, others do a hybrid setup. No matter how you do it, that's what's great about the points and miles game, is that you can tailor it to your lifestyle and your wants and what's fun for you and what's rewarding for you. So go forth and do that. Do what works for you, not what any influencer or what any points and miles expert tells you is the best, because you can take all that input and decide for yourself. But ultimately, we all have different needs, wants, desires, and we all play the game just a little bit differently. Tell me how you play the game down below. Tell me what you think about all this. Do you prefer cash back and why? Do you prefer points and why? I'd love to hear that from you. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we will see you here next time.